Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. A situation is apparently brewing at Eskom. The Truckers Association of South Africa, TASA, is accusing Eskom of giving the lion's share of coal delivery work to white trucker firms, firms like the SG Coal and Legend Logistics, in the process disregarding BEE requirements. They cite deliveries to Hendrina and Grootvlei power stations, where they say over 1,400 white-owned trucks are given the work as opposed to 12 trucks for their members. To make better sense of this story, we're joined on Zoom by TASA President Mary Phadi. A very good morning to you, Mary. We hear your members are conducting a sit-in at Eskom Majuba power station. Is this true, and what are the complaints of your members?
We received the concern for our members at national level about the white monopoly that is happening in the coal industry. What they were saying is that they've been speaking with Eskom, they've been speaking with the mines, and the procurement processes are not favoring them and therefore being given to the elect white companies. So they took then a decision to say it is better for them to go to power stations. It's not, they haven't started at Grootvlei, but they started with Majuba, where it consumed a lot of coal from different mines. What they did, they've appointed the marshals, the people that are directing trucks, to deviate traffic, to get one white company to pass through, as well as the white-black company to pass through, instead of having only white company queuing for a lot of trucks, and you find only a minority coming at the back.
Who specifically is Eskom giving work to as opposed to your members?
It is quite a tricky one, because what they did, they've moved most of their coal to the mining industry and have requested them to make a decision as to who they appoint. And on the other hand, you have the coal truckers that are transporting coal for Eskom, where Eskom has appointed quite a lot of black companies, but giving them few trucks. In other words, the ratio wouldn't talk to what is happening on the ground. The trucks that are running for black companies is almost plus minus 603, if I'm accurate, and then you'll have 1,400 trucks of the selected companies like your Legend or the SG, and they're already at the stock exchange. So they are pressing down the coming black emerging truckers, because there is no way one can compete with them. They feel that as blacks, they are sharing the work, and the white companies are given preference in terms of procurement that they don't have to share with anyone.
Do you have set BEE agreements with Eskom, or are you basing this on the national BEE requirements?
What we did is that we've realized that this issue is quite a concern, because if you look at the BEE ratio, they will beat you by giving you the accurate number. But what is happening on the ground is not the same as what the accurate number will give it to you. For instance, at the moment, the current contracts were advertised, or the tender was issued at about 5 years. Now they are running less than the number of years that were advertised to 2 years. And not only that, the mines, on the other hand, has given those preferred truckers who has power to work at the mine at the lifespan of it. And the worst part of the rate as well. So you can be BEE, but at the end of the day, if you're not paid the way another white person can be paid, is quite a concern. Hence, they have taken a decision that they must go that route, but that route has created an environment of being insecure. So we are engagement with Eskom, and we hope this thing will be resolved.
Ms. Phadi, I'm going to ask you to stop moving because as you move around, we lose audio in terms of what you're saying. If you could try and sit still for a bit while we have this conversation. Take us through the content of the conversation you've had with Eskom and what have been the outcomes.
What we've presented to Eskom is that they have created an environment where they've allowed a few companies to dominate the industry, and we have requested them to give a fair share to all emerging truckers and also give them a rate that is required to be paid to them and not underpay these truckers, because if you look at the allocation, then it means it does not balance. So we spoke to Eskom to say, let's find a balance here so that you don't see a situation that is happening at Majuba, where they end up putting their own marshals to divide trucks by race, because they are saying Eskom is acting race, but they are saying race as truckers.
Give us a sense of, just coming from your conversation with Eskom, how were they able to justify why black truckers are paid less than white truckers? What's the difference in the service offer?
What happens in this industry is that Eskom will sign a contract with the mining company and give them everything, a package of transporting coal on their own, or give them an option to give Eskom to transport that coal. So if that contract is being given directly to the owner of the mining company down there, they can make a decision as to how much they pay. And in the Eskom instance, then Eskom will give you a lower rate to accommodate the number of suppliers that are there on the system.
So what would you like to see happen, especially talking to us now, trying to make this conversation, take it outside of the conversation you're having exclusively with Eskom? What would you like to see happen? What's the way forward?
We are indeed concerned. We would like them to resolve this issue as a matter of urgency. We've given them 7 days to respond to our cry, and we hope that they will respond in a fast manner, because at the moment the members were threatened by security guards of these major companies. They are being followed, their lives are in fear. So if we can speed up the process of finalizing the issue of a fair ratio, things are going to be sorted, and I don't think that thing will continue.
In the meantime, your members who are at Majuba power station, what's going to happen there?
They are still there at Majuba power station because they are waiting for the response from Eskom. And they are saying that if Eskom is not responding to that, then all Eskom power station will have to share work by accepting the number of trucks, like they've given them 12 trucks per company, must accept 12 trucks for each and every company that is coming to their power stations. They said they will sit there and get a solution to this issue.
Mary Phadi, President of the Truckers Association of South Africa, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Let's hear what Eskom has to say about this matter. Let's speak now to the spokesperson of Eskom, Sikhonathi Mantshantsha. A very good morning to you, Mr. Mantshantsha. I don't know if you were able to listen in to the conversation with Ms. Phadi. Is it true that Eskom is paying white service providers more than black service providers?
Desiree, I thank you for the invitation. I only heard parts of her interview. Let's say this right up front. Eskom, since 2004, started a program where it catered specifically to black and to emerging truck operators who were complaining to Eskom that they are not able to get contracts from the mining companies, which Eskom was contracted. So before that, Eskom acquired its coal from the mines and paid the mines to deliver the coal to Eskom's power stations. When black truckers and emerging truckers complained that they were not getting any contracts from there, Eskom took about 40% of that procurement and specifically gave to these black and emerging suppliers. That happened for the 15 years up until last year, where the only open tender process for black suppliers was actually issued. So for 15 years, black truck operators and emerging truckers got access to 40% of Eskom's coal, which was previously delivered by the mines themselves. And that's the business they are getting.
So you have access to this conversation better than us in terms of the details. What conversations are you having with the Truckers Association of South Africa, TASA?
The conversations we are having is that we keep increasing the allocation of Eskom's coal deliveries to indeed the black coal operators and other emerging truckers. And Eskom is managed through the Public Finance Management Act, which requires that we have open and competitive bidding. This did not happen for 15 years because this kind of work was set aside for companies that were not able to get business from the traditional suppliers of coal from Eskom. And these were the emerging coal truckers. We've had that. And the open tender process that we did last year actually helped Eskom to lower the rate of coal transportation to to an average of R1.20 per kilometer per ton, which we have used again to go back and lower the rates. The mines themselves were contracting their own people to deliver the coal to Eskom. So we continue to allocate increasing amounts of business to emerging coal operators to track the coal to Eskom. It's only last year that we started making that an open and tender process, even amongst the black operators who had about 40% of the business from Eskom.
So what do you say to their contention that the open tender process and the competitive bidding gives a bigger advantage to the white truckers as opposed to their membership?
Desiree, Eskom procures all its expenditure through the established framework, and that is the legal process in South Africa. The economies of scale and all of that does determine, does lower the prices in favor indeed of the largest operators who have larger fleets. But what we have done is actually put together a mechanism that will allow those with the smallest fleets, fewer trucks, to actually be ahead of the queue and get as much as they can get of the expenditure. We have been increasing this over the past 15 years, and for the past 2 years, we opened this and said black people themselves must bid and compete for these opportunities. We are now, again, making sure that we are compliant with all the legal processes in which all operators can compete openly and freely. This has had the effect of actually increasing the allocation to black operators of the business that they are talking about.
So tell us, their assertion that white companies transporting coal are getting better rates. Any truth to that?
The first point to take on that, Desiree, is that the mining companies that we have previously been contracted with deliver about 70% of the coal to Eskom through their own contracting mechanism. They have nothing to do with Eskom. Eskom just buys the coal and they deliver it. They go themselves and find the trucking operators to deliver the coal. When we go to Eskom for the remaining 30 to 40%, that is where for 15 years it has been allocated, not in the actual open tender process. This was an effort to actually help these emerging truck operators to get to a stage where they can they can compete in the open market with the rest of the economy. We are now at a stage after 15 years where Eskom is confident that it can open this up, and again we have to ensure that we comply with the law in terms of preferential procurement from emerging and black operators, and we are doing that. And the prices that we get, Eskom is a public company that has to get the best deal for every rand spent. And the effect of that is that the consumer will benefit, the consumer of electricity will benefit through lower prices. We have used this open tender process to actually force the prices lower from the mining company's side of things.
So based on what you're saying, one gets the sense that you will not be conceding to their demands, and they've said they've given Eskom 7 days to respond. What are you going to be saying to them in your response?
We continue to engage with and we've got solid relationships with all our customers and indeed suppliers. The fact of the matter, though, is that not everyone will always be happy all of the time. So we continue and we are engaging with them to try and find a solution to these problems. So our discussions continue with Eskom's officials even at this point, and we will indeed make every possible attempt to find a solution to their complaints. However, let it be stated that Eskom has made sure that over the past 15 years, black operators get no less than 40% of the business that was previously not available to them, because the coal was being delivered by the mining companies themselves. So we took about 30 million tons of coal and said we want to dish out the tenders ourselves to emerging operators. This is where we are 15 years later, that we can now open this even further up.
Of course, this conversation pours into the bigger conversation about Eskom struggling with managing costs and the tensions between pricing and empowerment. What's the overall picture, Sikhonathi, just taking it away from specifically TASA?
The overall picture, Desiree, is that indeed Eskom, as we have said publicly so many times, we've been transparent about this. The costs have been spiraling out of control in many aspects of the business. And over the past 2 years, the management team has been doing everything it can to arrest those costs. And primary energy costs, coal indeed is one of them. The cost of transporting that coal and of acquiring the coal from the mines has been growing faster than the inflation rate. We have then had to take steps, including this tender process that I'm talking about, where now you have a transparent process where you can actually arrive at a point where you pay about R1.20 per ton of coal delivered per kilometer. Down from about R2.50 or so before this. These are the management's attempts to lower the costs and actually ease the burden on the people of South Africa. There is that massive 450 billion rand debt, where Eskom has gone to the taxpayer again to ask for money, and the government has kindly come into the party to help us with that. We are doing and have to do things from our side to actually bring efficiencies and make sure that we do not unnecessarily burden the people of South Africa with our own inefficiency. Unfortunately, not everyone will be happy with that, but the fact of the matter is we are doing everything to comply with, to be a socially responsible corporate citizen and to comply with all the laws of the Republic. We have given and continue to give preferential expenditure to emerging operators.
I had a lot more to ask you, but time constraints are not on our side. Thank you so much for your time. Well, you heard it from the Truckers Association of South Africa and Eskom. What do you make of that situation? Let us know at the agenda_.